Alright, I'll start this video off by saying that I don't really think I'm gonna get too angry about this, per se. I'm not the guy who has the most emotional investment attached into the Florida Panthers, and I'm super devastated to see them do what they did in the second round against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Instead, this video and its angle are more coming from a place of shock. Mostly because while I was out and about in the USA, I was on a trip for the weekend, which is why we had made so many pre-recorded videos about other topics that don't really revolve around the playoffs. But as I was out on my trip, I was watching these playoff games on ESPN and TNT, and my my jaw was just to the floor the entire time Game 4 of Tampa and Florida was on. Because we had seen the Florida Panthers go out there and smoke the competition in the regular season. 58 wins, they had the most goals by a mile, they were the best team in the National Hockey League, the President's Trophy winners. And they just can't get it done. They get swept, and all of a sudden, people are calling for Andrew Brunette's head, people are talking about changes down in Sunrise, Florida, what's going to go on with this team, this is a championship-caliber team, but they just could not show up in the second round. Quite frankly, it was kind of embarrassing just seeing everything go down the way it did. Now again, I don't have any emotional investment here. I actually predicted Tampa Bay to make the finals, which is looking a lot more like a guaranteed bet now, no matter who they face in the third round, Carolina or New York. And I actually had them beating Florida in, 6 or 7 games, something like that. So the fact that they got it done in 4 blows my mind, but I just wanted to take some time here in this video to talk about why that happened, and just analyze where the Florida Panthers were coming from in this series, because it's kind of interesting to see how that diverges from their regular season performance. So, Game 1 was a 4-1 Tampa Bay win in Sunrise, Florida. The Lightning get it done. A lot of people are going out there and saying, oh boy, this is going to be a series, the Battle of Florida. Tampa really shut down the Florida Panthers in this Game 1 over here, didn't they? In Game 2, the Lightning got themselves a 2-1 win in Sunrise as well. This one was 1-1. It was a stalemate the entire way through, up until Mackenzie Weegar lost the Panthers. Do I say the series? Okay, let's just say the game for now, because at the end of Game 2, you got 2 Florida Panthers defensemen chasing Nikita Kucherov behind the Panthers' net. Kucherov notices this, and like the absolute wizard of a playmaker he is, he centers it right in front, tape to tape, to Ross Colton, who comes in all alone. He goes over Bobrovsky. It's in the back of the net. This was a goal with 0.3 seconds, something like that, left on the visual clock, and then it was actually reversed to 3-something seconds because they had to replay the video. You know, the timer doesn't stop immediately once the puck goes into the net on the TV broadcast because there's somebody there that has to press the button to make things stop. So they did the review. It was 3 seconds left in the period. That was the game. And you could say that that might have been the turning point of the entire series, because the Florida Panthers just absolutely could not get their footing off at all for the remainder of the series. Game 3 is a 5-1 Tampa win in Tampa. Game 4 is a 2-0 Tampa win in Tampa. Andrei Vasilevskiy goes out there and gets, 49 saves in Game 4? He breaks the record, or something like that, for the most saves in a playoff shutout in a regulation game. Because there were some other playoff games with shutouts where you had overtime and everything, so there were 70-something save games in the past, but that was all in extra time, so it's a little bit different than getting things done in a full 60-minute sample. Vasilevskiy ends up breaking a record that was held by Thatcher Demko from the Vegas series in the bubble playoffs in 2020, so interesting piece of trivia there. But Andrei Vasilevskiy aside, all the stuff going on about, him in elimination games, he's got like a point, like a 9-something save percentage? It's wild. I'm not going to go out there and talk about Vasilevskiy. I wanted to talk about the Florida Panthers, because sure, Vasilevskiy could be seen as one of the main, if not the absolute reason why the Florida Panthers could not get on the board. They faced off against one of the best goaltenders in the world, playing in his element, the Stanley Cup Playoffs. But the reason why I still say this is pathetic is because the Florida Panthers were not supposed to go out there and fall this hard. You go out there as a championship caliber team, as the best team in the league, and you win. That is what the number one team in the NHL is supposed to be able to do. Overcome your obstacles and defeat the demons. Have yourself that Oscar confrontation or that final boss, that final showdown, and come out victorious. That is what you're supposed to be able to do as the best team in the NHL, and the Florida Panthers failed 4 straight times. Who would have thought the Lightning would have swept the Panthers in the second round of the playoffs? The Panthers scored 3 goals all series, and it gets even wilder when you acknowledge that, hey, there were some folks over on the Maple Leafs that had more goals than the Florida Panthers on Andrei Vasilevskiy this 2022 playoff run. This kind of falls into the other argument of saying, oh, the Maple Leafs, they're kind of unlucky because this is the second time in a row where the team that beats them in 7 games in the first round goes on to sweep their second round series. Montreal beat Toronto in 7 last year, and then they swept Winnipeg. Tampa did the same thing this year, and then they swept Florida. Toronto just keeps on getting the short end of the stick, don't they? But either way, when it comes to the Florida Panthers, I wanted to go over this comment here on Reddit. This is on the Our Hockey Sub, the next day post-game thread between the Panthers and the Lightning. There was an amazing comment here written by Day Get Away Man 421. This is an entire summary of what the Florida Panthers did, not only against the Bolts, but also against the Washington Capitals. He doesn't think that Brandt has a system that fits the current playoff mold. Yes, they beat the Caps, but they were 1 bounce away in Game 4, and 1 bounce away in Game 5 to losing to the Caps in 5. And this is also what I was talking about in the pre-series summary as well, that the Florida Panthers barely edged out against Washington. They very well had some difficulty playing off against Ovi and the Caps, making the idea of Florida playing Tampa not all too easy for me to see Florida come out on top. But you go over what this commenter writes. The main issue with Florida is that they could only score off the rush and turnovers in the playoffs. Their power play got stuffed, and it seemed as though they had great difficulty setting up in the offensive zone and trying to score that way. Their last goal of the series was their first and only power play goal. Game 2, scoring off the rush. Game 1, scoring off the rush. Going back to the Caps series, well, here's the full breakdown. During the Panthers and the Bolts series, they had 2 goals scored off the rush, 1 goal scored on the power play by Sam Reinhart off of sustained zone time. Their only power play goal of the playoffs. Like, come on! How does the top team in the NHL only have 1 goal on the power play in, 10 games? Boy, that's embarrassing. But either way, going over to the Panthers series, take a look at all the goals they had scored off the rush and off of turnovers in the neutral zone. The Panthers only had 5 goals that they scored with extended zone time. And this kind of is the problem that we saw with this team in this postseason run. Forcing offensive zone turnovers and being able to score off the rush is great, but those opportunities are going to be few and far between. You have to be able to skate with the puck into the zone and be able to break down your opponent's defense at 5-on-5. The Panthers scored 23 goals this postseason, and only 6 of those were being able to skate into the zone, maintain possession, and break down the defense to score. The Panthers were not able to do that against the Lightning. They simply could not skate, maintain possession, and break down the Bolts' defense. The Bolts played smart defensively, clogged the neutral zone, and made it difficult for the Panthers to get high scoring chances. The Caps tried to do the same, but the turnovers killed them, especially by John Carlson. There were some defensive breakdowns by the Caps due to the sustained zone time in the attacking zone that allowed the Panthers to score. And that's what you have to be able to do in the playoffs. But the Panthers were not able to do that against the Bolts because Brunette's system does not appear to have a lot of options when it comes to maintaining offensive zone possession, and was more so relying on the talent he had. The Bolts also played more disciplined defense and didn't give Florida many rush opportunities as Washington did. Yes, their power play was great during the regular season, but the Caps and Bolts effectively shut it down. And the Caps would have beaten the Panthers if they hadn't made so many turnovers. Now, this comment is obviously from a Washington Capitals fan, but I like the points that they bring up. The fact that this team just could not get any sustained zone time, and they played off against 2 systems that clogged into the middle, blocked shots, and did their absolute best in trying to shut down the NHL's reigning President's Trophy winners. Florida, this was an embarrassing showcase in the postseason, and I know you played some pretty good opponents that had your number when it comes to defensive style versus your offense, but still, Teams that are supposed to be able to win championships overcome those. And the Panthers did not do that in the slightest in this year's playoff run. So I'm sticking with the verdict here. Embarrassing is what it is. Talk to me in the comments later your thoughts about the Florida Panthers and how they had came out against Washington and how they pretty much lost to themselves. Not only Vasilevskiy and the Lightning, but themselves as well in the second round too. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.